for joining the program.
Good morning, Sage. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Fuad, people said when I say hello, I sound aggressive. Is it true?
You sound like what?
That I sound aggressive the way I say hello, good morning.
I really don't know. I must say.
Fuad, say the truth. Say the truth, because someone told me yesterday that when I answered the phone, the way I say hello, good morning, or hello, what's your name, that it sounds very aggressive and I should be softer. How soft can I be, Fuad? I sound like a nightingale.
But it's a very soft voice for me. Really.
I didn't understand what people were saying. That the way I say hello, good morning is aggressive. I'm a very sweet girl, please. No,
maybe the energy that should naturally come with a morning show. I don't know, because early in the morning you expect that there's a lot of energy to dispense. So I don't know, but
Nonso is one of those people anyways. Nonso is one of those people that said to me, he said I answered the phone is very aggressive. Why do I answer the phone like that? I wanted to vindicate myself. Anyways,
you can soften it a bit, but I think
if I soften my voice any lesser than this, I might as well just turn this into a night show. We might as well just become flower girl and start doing love.
I don't know. Let flower girl deal with the people looking
for love and affection. Anyways,
has there been any result of all those things?
Yes, Fuad, we have relationships. She brought one of them.
Marriage? I'm not talking about relationships.
I know she brought some of them. There was a hangout for people who had connected via the program. But let's not talk about love now.
How far have they gone? I'm hoping to hear marriage.
How would I know, Fuad? We have things to talk about here. Let's talk about these things so that the people that are getting married, we have money for their marriage.
Okay, all right.
So because things are happening, so let's talk about the economy so that they can have money for their marriage. Let's start with the Punch newspaper. The APC, of course, is at the fore of this particular conversation. The Punch newspaper, the top story here: election cases, APC account seized over 8.9 billion naira debt, says Ganduje. Party incurs legal fees. Others from presidential, governorship, legislative, election cases. Let me read the body of the story so that we know where to go from there. The report this morning tells us that the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, on Wednesday sought a bailout for the ruling party over 8.9 billion naira election debt. Ganduje revealed that the party's account had been garnished following the huge debt resulting from the case filed by the opposition party to challenge the election of President Bola Tinubu, APC governors and legislators. The former Kano State governor disclosed this at the National Executive Committee meeting of the APC that was held a day after the party held its national caucus meeting at the presidential villa in Abuja. We had a lot of notable bigwigs at the meeting, and we also had a number of individuals that did not attend. The past president Muhammadu Buhari, the former vice president Yemi Osinbajo, the Nasiru El-Rufai, of course, the Ekiti State governor, former Ekiti State governor Kayode Fayemi. We had Rotimi Amechi as well. All of these individuals were not at the meeting, but it did hold. Now let's focus on the many things that came out from the NEC meeting. For the first time in 2 years, we finally had a convergence of party members who came together to really talk about and do some sort of appraisal regarding the 2 years that have been spent by this administration. And one of the things that came out of it is we had Abdullahi Ganduje telling that 8.9 billion naira is how much the party currently owes as a result of election litigation. Following the election, of course, the opposition party took many of the cases to court, testing the results and what have you across board, both the presidential, the governorship, the local government chairman election, all of them are being contended in court, right? And 8.9 billion is how much they owe in legal fees. We also had a conversation around the crisis that was happening or personal tussle that was going on between one or two individuals within the party. The president actually advises that the National Working Committee set up something of a reconciliation panel that would address the issues that these individuals have with each other. For example, in Kano State, the Minister of State Housing and Urban Development, Yusuf Atta, has a problem with Abdullahi Abbas. He says he will leave the party if Abdullahi Abbas is made the chairman of the party. In Benue, Governor Hyacinth Alia and the Secretary, George Akume, Kume, they have a problem. In Lagos State, of course, we know Mudashi Rabasa and the entire state assembly. There's a tussle going on there. Even in Adamawa, Delta, Rivers, there's a problem with individuals within the party structure at that level. And there's still issues about stabilizing the party after former Governor Rauf Aregbesola left the party with a group of people, a group that he spearheaded amongst other things. And these are some of the many issues that have been raised forward. And at the end of the day, we had individuals who had great things to say about this administration. Everything is good. Our debt has reduced. In fact, don't take my word for it, Fuad. Give us a minute. It's just a minute. Let's listen to some of the things that have been said about this administration, how great the administration of
by
the
party
president.
members.
Yes, by party members. That, he's doing a great job and we should just be patient amongst other things. Let's just listen to this so that we would analyze moving forward.
I told me that the situation of the country was such that nobody should think of election. Let us rather think of the survival of the nation. So we reflect on when you took over as president of Nigeria. And we realized that we did not know where we were going. Among the things they did not say was the fact that in previous administrations, to even undertake payment of salaries, they needed to print the currency without any production, without earnings. But under you, ways and means have been brought to an end. So I want to congratulate you. Mr. President, as we strengthen our currency, inflation has significantly declined, dropping from 18.2% in mid-2024 to 12.5% by the end of the year. This drop is largely driven by targeted policies such as subsidy reforms and strategic price stabilization interventions, easing the burden on the Nigerian people. Moreover, after a challenging period marked by erratic rains and insecurity, our agricultural sector has rebounded. Nigeria's economy is stabilizing with stronger fundamentals, increase in non-oil revenue. It is important for NED to note that despite the epilepsy in the oil sector, the economy is able to move relying on non-oil revenue. A case that is unprecedented and that has never happened before.
Fuad, the soundbite is the question.
Yeah.
What version of the country are these individuals experiencing? Let's hear your analysis.
Well, Sage, again, it was very important for us to point out that, look, these were senior party members, the APC members, appraising the performance of this government, particularly the president. The first voice, I think that was the voice of the Senate president. I think the second one was that of the National Security Advisor, Nᴏᴜᴜ Ribadu. I can't quickly pick the third voice, but at least I'm sure of the first two voices. That of the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and that of the National Security Advisor, Malam Nᴏᴜᴜ Ribadu. Before the NEC meeting, the president himself at the caucus meeting of the party, just a day before yesterday, had also done an appraisal of his government. I think on midweek politics we played the sound.
I have it. I just.
It would have been nice to also so that you know it's not just the people.
Okay.
The president also has an appraisal.
Let's listen to that then. Let's
All
listen
right.
to that.
All of you, I'm very grateful. I am happy that we called the caucus and you are here caucusing. Thank you very much for the vote of confidence. I've received it, and it's very encouraging. For me, there is a very sunny part of Nigeria that I'm seeing right now. And I'm very happy that one of the most challenged individual in terms of security, Yari has given a testimony. It's done so much for many of us. But to give testimony that the security of life and property getting better from Sambara. I could see people from Benengwari on TV doing their farming and getting the rewards. I am a very happy man. The sunny side of this country is on the horizon. Things are getting better. The days of the glooms are gone. We are looking at the brighter and the sunny side of our country and our people.
For some reason, the audio dropped a little bit. We apologize for that, but I believe that we were still able to hear what the president said. He's a very happy man. Security is better. He's seen people going to the farm. We're seeing a sunny side of Nigeria, amongst other things. These were the words of the president. Fuad, would you like to consider or factor that into your analysis of the outcome of the NEC meeting?
Well, Sage, I think we live in a different reality. Because again, if you tie the president's speech at the caucus meeting to that of party leaders who gave a vote of confidence to him and the government, you see that they seem to live in a bubble while we live in a completely different reality. Well, the president has said that, look, everything is getting better, security has improved. He saw farmers in Benengwari. I also saw that it was not like a report. I think it was on TVC, really. It was a report by, on TVC, farmers testifying to the fact that things have improved for them. I think one of the farmers said he was able to harvest about 10,000 bags of maize, making close to about 800 million naira, and all of that. So I think that was actually the video the president was referring to. I saw it on TV, and he felt very, very happy that things have improved. He also talked about the fact that even in Zamfara, farmers are now able to go to farms, security has improved. He's now seeing the sunny side of things. Things are getting better for Nigeria. And then you had the Senate president also saying that, look, the government is no longer borrowing to pay salaries, ways and means have been stopped, and that, look, everything looks very good. And I know Ribado has also told you that things are shaping up, security has gotten better and all of that. These things are easy to fact check, Sage. Very, very easy to fact check. In fact, in today's papers, on the issue of improved security in the country, just read the paper from first page to the last page and pick out, and I'm sure you are going to be able to pick out about 20 stories related to the issue of insecurity in the country. Students being kidnapped, people being kidnapped in different parts of the country. It's there in the paper. So, again, is their reality against our own reality? Is their perception against our own perception? But again, I always say that perception, opinions will differ, but the facts are sacred. The fact is always the fact. And again, the argument will be that, they said it has improved, things are getting better, so it's not as if it's 100%. But again, it's there for Nigerians to sit back and listen to what our politicians are telling themselves. The ruling party, particularly, their own racing observation of the government and their level of performance in the last 2 years or so. They think things are working for the country. So I think Nigerians need to ask themselves, that should be an individual thing now. Are things working for you? That's another way to fact check what they are telling you. Has things gotten better for you? Your personal economy. Forget about all the statistics and data, because I was hearing Malamuni Badu talking about inflation figures dropping. And his own figures, I don't know where he got it from. But we will not argue about those figures. I'm not going to bother myself with what the politicians are telling themselves, actually that of the ruling party. And I think Nigerians need to fact check what they are telling us against their own personal reality. And so can they form their own individual opinion. So that nobody is accused, nobody don't come here accusing me. Particularly, he doesn't like the government, we always criticize everything. They don't see anything good. So on this one, I accept what they have said. But I'm going to judge it based on my own reality. And on my own reality, I'll keep it to myself. So I also want all Nigerians to fact check what has been said, whether from the president or party leaders of the APC about the reality of Nigeria against their own individual reality, so that they don't continue to deceive themselves. One thing I've always said is the politicians will lie to you to a point where they want you to also believe their lies and also start to lie to yourself. It's one thing to lie to you. It's another thing for them to force you to believe their own lies. It's also another thing to force you to begin to lie to yourself. I think as smart Nigerians, I will not be part of the people, as a smart Nigerian, who will believe their lies and also start to lie to myself. The reality is there for all to see. They say things have gotten better, the economy is shaping up, everything looks so good, the security has improved. Every Nigerian listening to us this morning, please fact check what you have heard with your own reality. If it is true that you can travel to different parts of the country without any fear in your mind, look at the cost of food. At least you go to the market 2 years or so ago, look at how much you were buying things and how much you are buying it now. Look at the value of the currency, the money, for example. You take your own personal economy and make a decision on whether to believe what they said or not. I don't know if we are going to analyze this one.
Well, they did request that, the loans be taken care of and also a new secretariat be built, one that is befitting for the status of the APC. And this is me reading verbatim, the one, a new secretariat that's befitting of the status of the APC and also the debts to be taken care of. That's also something else that was discussed at the meeting. If you like more details into this particular story, the outcome of
see, before we move on,
yes,
it's just to, I like that part of the story.
Yes.
The fact that the chairman of the party, Ganduje, was telling the whole party members that, look, we have a debt of about 8.9 billion naira.
Yes.
And these debts have come as a result of litigations upon litigations against the party. The president, the governors, assembly members, and there are some of the accounts have even been put under garnishee orders. So it means that if any money comes there, the debtor, the creditor, can take the money even without telling them. So he's begging that should be attended to. He also talked about the fact that the current secretariat they have is not befitting of the APC, the party. They need to build a new one. I think they should be able to sort all of that out. The ruling party, they've got what it takes. There's enough. They have governors, the president. I don't know why they have not been able to build a befitting secretariat for the APC. You know what they mean by befitting?
Tell me, Fuad.
You don't know?
I don't. Tell me now.
I don't even know whether the PDP has finished their own secretariat. They were also going to build a befitting secretariat too when they were in power. They never finished.
So it will be befitting.
I know the APC will finish their own. A befitting. You don't know what they call befitting. I will not tell you. Don't worry. Or I'll tell you off radio.
Please take a look at page 2 of the Punch newspaper if you want more information. Let's see if this one is actually something that would make Nigerians happy, right? Importers fret as Dangote lowers petrol price again. Importers of petroleum products have lamented the repeated reduction of... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Importers of petroleum products have... The thing is, I read it before. It's just every time I read it, it just elicits something in me. Importers of petroleum products have lamented the repeated reduction of petrol prices by Dangote refinery. Some of the importers said deals might be compelled to sell below their cost prices as consumers would only buy from where petrol is cheaper. On Wednesday, the Dangote refinery announced a reduction in ex-depot, that's the gantry price of petrol, right, by 65 naira. So that's from 890 naira to 825 naira per litre, right? And it will start today, the 27th of February. So from MRS and all the other depot, what's the name now for it? Pump, from the pump rather, yes, from the pump is cheaper, yes, from the pump, from the filling station, that's the word I'm looking for. Very funny, I'll forget that. From today you get it cheaper at the filling station, like MRS and all the other ones that work with him. This is the second price reduction in the new year, and it's the third one in the space of 2 months. So in 2 months he has reduced his price at least 3 times. Now, although the importation of the commodity has dropped, some dealers are still importing refined petroleum products, and this was confirmed by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority last week when it stated that about 50% of domestic fuel supply comes from imports. Let's deal with the first paragraph. Importers, and let's cast our mind back that this is not the first time that importers have had a problem with Dangote's decision to minimize the price of PMS. In fact, they wrote a letter to the president, right?
On diesel.
Yes, on diesel. He's affecting our business. He's reducing prices and everybody wants to buy from him. Nobody's buying from us anymore because his price is significantly lower than ours, right? Now, Dangote goes and also reduce the price of PMS, and importers are complaining bitterly. They're lamenting that Dangote's decision to continue to minimize his price is affecting theirs. And they say, Fuad, that it is because consumers will only buy from where petrol is cheaper, meaning they would only buy from Dangote because his price is cheaper. And so that some of them will now be forced to sell below their cost price. They made a decision to import this commodity, mind you, rather than patronize the local manufacturer. And then Dangote looks, well, is an open market, he goes, for the sake of competition, I'll minimize my price, right? And now the importers are upset that now you're going to force us to have to sell below the price we actually brought it into the country because you're making your products too cheap. Father, I need you to help me make this mix. I just want to understand. Talk to me like I'm 5 and make me understand what's going on here.
But you probably will not be able to really, make any sense out of the arguments of these marketers. Because like you rightly said, they decided on their own, in their own calculations and thinking, to go out there to import this product when the product was available in their backyard. Nobody forced them to go out there, in the first place, to continue to import. Themselves and their regulators, the NMDPRA, kept arguing that, look, Dangote cannot supply our local needs, and then they needed to continue to import to ensure that we have energy sufficiency, energy security, blah, blah, blah. And so they are now complaining that the man has continued to reduce his price and is going to kill their businesses because people are going to continue to patronize him against their. So they are now going to be forced to sell below their cost price. Now, what you are seeing, from Dangote, from my own analysis, is what they call guerrilla marketing. You wait for your competitor to show their hand. Let them do what they want to do. When it comes to things like this, you already know their strength, their weakness, and then you just walk around it. So what I've seen is a situation where Dangote wants to also ensure that these guys don't have any edge ahead of him, probably even push them out of business as a strategy. Because again, the explanation of Dangote reducing the price this much, it's about 65 naira again, is that, look, you do it because of Ramadan, the coming month of the Muslim month of fasting. So it's a way of giving back in the period of the holy month of Ramadan. And again, a way also of keying into the vision of the president. So, of course, you have those things also coming into the conversation. But my mind tells me that, look, it's still all about survival for Dangote and his refinery. And it's nice to have employed this guerrilla marketing strategy to deal with the competitors. Again, people who have decided to continue to compete in the most unfair manner, really, the most unreasonable manner. We are not saying there shouldn't be competition. Nobody wants competition that is local. let local refineries compete with a local refinery. We shouldn't be having importation competing with local production. That's what we've been saying. And if the NNPC have told us that Port Harcourt is working, Warri is working, and the other modular refineries are also bringing out product, why can't they compete among themselves? Yes, Dangote has the capacity, bigger capacity, but no competition is competition so far the product can be put out. So, again, it's left for the marketers to decide whether they will now go stop all this importation idea and decide to buy from Dangote refinery. But again, Dangote is just, going ahead of these guys, ensuring that, look, for every aspect of the competition that comes into this sector, is far ahead of them, and that's what he's just done with this one. They may now be forced again to adjust their prices. Although I've seen industry experts who are saying that, look, the initial prices we were buying for were not actually realistic prices. There are some who are also saying that, look, we're already seeing some form of firming up of the naira against the dollar. So we are seeing that impact too in pricing of petroleum products. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for those that are already celebrating that, the naira is getting better against the dollar, the reality is that we are still defending the naira. That's just what is going on. It's not anything magical. The same way we have been creating artificial liquidity through the CBN, to continue to defend the naira is what we are doing. It may not be sustainable. We've seen this past before. But again, this is Dangote again going to a competition using the guerrilla marketing strategy. You just have to wait to see how it goes. But again, good one to Nigerians who will be buying this product at a cheaper price. But again, we were told that ⴛᴏᴜ might be wallet. This was not the price they promised us. So Nigerians are still expecting that promise to be fulfilled from the president.
Well, again, it still beats me that we have a group of people that are upset that things are being sold for cheaper. I mean, that is what competition is, right? That is what competition is. Everybody does something that makes their own market desirable to the consumers. And if lowering his price is how he makes it desirable by the consumers, I do not understand why these importers who also were on the bandwagon of those who claim that our refineries were working and they were producing, why they are now upset about it and they're lamenting that Dangote is reducing price. I never in my life did I think it would be possible for Nigerians to be upset about the fact that someone is choosing to sell their commodity at a cheaper price. But that is our reality in Nigeria.
Now you know.
It's on page 27. At least now I know. It's on page 27. Let's also talk about Dangote a little bit more. He went on further, right, to talk about some of the issues that bedevil us, especially when it comes to business administration in the country, and why we're not necessarily making headway, with power as the center of that conversation. He spoke about the fact that unstable electricity is what is hindering industrialization in Nigeria. He talked about how business abroad, for example, is very profitable, and that if you're running a business outside the country, it's at least 30% cheaper than if you're doing the same business in Nigeria and even in other African countries as well, due to unstable power in the country. He also spoke about how his cement factory, which happens to be the most profitable of his business, I believe he's running that business in Ethiopia, and he says his plant in Ethiopia is the most profitable of all his plants, and that is because they have power, they have stable power. Yes, he calls it a plug and play system. You get there, you don't need to build personal infrastructure for your business. The infrastructure is there. You just bring your business and connect to the already existing network there, and you start to make your money. And he also highlighted that the government doesn't realize that they keep shooting themselves in the foot, because for every time you put out an inconsistent policy or you give out all these tax regimes and all these aggressive revenue amongst other things, you lose, because that means businesses will be making less income, which means they would have less money to pay to you in taxes if you continue to move the goalpost in terms of policy and all the poor infrastructure that business owners are left to work with. What are your thoughts, Fuad?
Well, Dangote has just captured it perfectly. And in what he has said, he has only painted a complete picture of why it's difficult to run business profitably in Nigeria, as against even some other African countries or the rest of the world. And that was why he brought the example of his cement factories, his cement plants across the world. That's the most profitable of his cement plants is the one located in Ethiopia. And again, the reason. Now look, because again, they have infrastructure in Ethiopia. So as a manufacturer, for example, it's plug and play. Just set up your factory. You don't need to make provisions for power like you have to do here. Say, are you aware that a lot of manufacturers in Nigeria have even moved away from the national grid?
Oh, yes.
The grid no kill them.
Yes.
They've had to now make provisions to provide power for their plant. And the cost is not a joke. A lot of them have to create their own form of IPP just to ensure that there's stable power for their plants and machinery. They can't rely on the national grid. So that cost in itself is the reason why it's more expensive to produce in Nigeria than some other countries. And like you said, it's about 30% cheaper to produce outside of this country than to want to produce in Nigeria. So it talked about the challenge of the power sector for industries and manufacturers. And until today, we are still paying lip service to it. We've still not been able to resolve it. From 1999 till date, every government that has come in has talked about their intention to fix the power problem of the country. Nothing has been fixed. Then he also talked about inconsistencies in government policy. Policies have us all. That is like playing football, and then in the middle of the game, you shift the goalpost. So you come in with your business idea, you've done your feasibility study, you've done all the checks, you've dotted all I's, crossed all T's. Then at the beginning, you started, and then something comes up. The government starts to change policies, change the ideas. It messes with everything up. It messes everything up. Sorry. Look, even in that Tဃᴇ refinery, so you saw what he saw, really.
Yes.
It's now creating some form of stability. And I'm telling you, whatever stability has been able to achieve in his refinery is coming from his capacity to have been able to do that. Just imagine he was a smaller business person that has set up that refinery. Mm. So it talks about government bureaucracy, this inconsistent policies, so policies are assault, and the fact that, look, there are too many taxes and levies, which is extremely difficult for manufacturers. And at the end of the day, these things he has highlighted, for manufacturers who are able to surmount all of these challenges, you know what they do? They put the cost on the people. That's why if you go into supermarkets now, a lot of supermarkets now, you see products who are staying there for too long. No, people are not buying because they become truly expensive, extremely expensive. So when manufacturers struggle to manufacture, go through all of these hurdles, and people don't even have what it takes to buy, what happens to those plants? They shut down. So again, that's why, if a Dangote is saying this, it's very important for us to pay attention to it. I was telling a few friends that, do you know why imported rice, the imported rice is cheaper than the one to produce in Nigeria? It's because of the cost of production. In those other places, government infrastructure is available to support the manufacturing sector. And it's not just available, it is also affordable. Because they understand that one of the easiest ways to drive their economy is to create an enabling environment. Instead, what we do here is to create an environment that will start for businesses. And we're expecting a $1 trillion economy to happen just like that. When businesses are folding up, manufacturers are grappling for bread. We are bringing more taxes upon taxes. Look at what we are talking about even as imports. Importers are complaining bitterly. So I just hope that people that should listen will wake up from their slumber and rise up from their delusions and understand that things are not working in the country. Few people who are struggling to survive are gasping for breath, and they need to pay attention.
Well, thank you very much, Fuad. We're still looking at the Punch newspaper. It's trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. You just heard the voice of Fuad Said, our analyst. My name is Sage Babalola. We're still live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's currently on our live stream. I see your submissions. We'll take them soon. You can join us on Facebook and YouTube at mainland 98.3 FM. We're streaming live. Join us as well via our website at www.mainlandfm.com. You can listen live. Also via Radio Guardian at mainland 98.3 FM. It's trends in the papers. We're looking at the Punch newspaper, analyzing the headlines and giving you some sort of insight into the stories across the pages. Now, let's have a conversation forward about our security situation. The Punch on page 16 is telling us that Niger, others exit from ECOWAS, affecting counter-insurgency war. On page 16, we have the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has said that the recent withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali from the Economic Community of West African States might significantly has actually significantly increased the security burden on Nigeria's military. Speaking at the first quarter meeting with Branch Chief Air Officers Commanding and Commanders on Wednesday in Abuja, Abubakar noted that the withdrawal had disrupted regional security framework, particularly affecting the multinational joint task force, and the recent withdrawal of the Alliance of Sahel States from ECOWAS has disrupted existing security framework, and this directly has implications for the MNJTF, which has played a crucial role in countering Boko Haram and ISWAP across Nigeria. For what, there's also been chatter that Chad might also join in the pullout from ECOWAS, and these are our closest neighbors, which means that we become very vulnerable to external attacks. If you understand even the basis of the Russian-Ukraine war, Putin's justification for attacking Ukraine was that if Ukraine joins NATO, it would mean bringing my enemies to my backyard. That is Putin's argument in attacking Ukraine. So we're seeing that our closest neighbors as well, if they pull out, we become vulnerable because we don't know what their operations are. We don't know who they are allowing into our backyard anymore. And they're saying that this will become a very, very big problem for us. And we might see an increase because there's also been chatter of an Al-Qaeda-backed terrorist organization, and they've been expanding their reach across different countries in Africa. And if our allies, the ones that we formed a multinational joint task force with, are no longer aligned with us in ECOWAS, we might have a problem. Fuad.
My biggest fear when all of this issue of Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, Niger, pulling out of ECOWAS started. Now we have a Chad. And apart from them pulling out of ECOWAS, there's also the problem of telling the French troops in these countries, to leave.
Yes.
You're telling them to leave and all of that. My fear is that, look, apart from the fact that, look, we're not going to enjoy the opportunity of shared intelligence, shared military intelligence and security intelligence amongst these nations because of the frosty relationship this issue has caused. My fear is that, look, these insurgents from the Maghreb region, from the Sahel, these khaki boys who are taking over in these countries may not be able to deal with them without the support of the French troops, which they are telling to leave. I doubt if these military guys in these countries will be able to deal with the onslaught, will be able to deal with the onslaught of this insurgent, ISWAP, and all of these guys who will be coming from the Sahel, the Maghreb region on their own. And if they fail, to deal decisively with that threat of insurgency from that region, Nigeria becomes vulnerable. So you have two situations making us extremely vulnerable now when it comes to our security, we're fighting with our neighbors.
Yeah.
Number one is the fact that, look, we might suffer from lack of shared intelligence. Because again, there's supposed to be a joint task force among these nations to fight insurgency. With this forcing relationship, I'm not sure that cohesion exists again. That cooperation exists again. That's number one. Number two, if those regions fall into chaos, if insurgents take over some of these countries or parts of these countries, it becomes a problem for us. Humanitarian because we're also going to come here. Might not be able to deal with the insurgents that are going to come from the Maghreb region. I doubt if Mali has what it takes, for example, to deal with, I've forgotten their name now, who have been troubling northern part of Mali. I doubt if the Jᴏɪᴜ that these guys are wearing with pistols and doing like macho men. The insurgents will come after them and they are not going to be able to deal with it. And that puts Nigeria on the edge too, or on this same matter. So I think that's why people have told the president that on this matter we have to tread softly. Yes, we might continue to talk about sanctions because again we want to push for the return to democracy in these countries. But we also have to find a way to accommodate them because we need that level of intelligence sharing from these countries. We can't do away with it. We can't do it alone. We cannot live in isolation on the issue of insurgency that are going to come from the Maghreb region. So it's just very important that we also pay attention to this thing.
Very important indeed. It's on page 16, like I said before. Because of our time, you would allow us to move on to other newspapers. But for the Punch, other reports here. Pro-Obasa clerk barred from assembly threatens contempt suit.
There was a guy that was pro-Obasa.
Fuad, you know there would always be factions within factions and mini factions.
A clerk is supposed to be an admin just working there without any allowance.
Do you really believe that, Fuad? Come on, I'm sure that even office managers have factions that they like. It's on page 6. It's on page 26 rather. We have immigration arrest 378 illegal immigrants in Ogun State. It's on page 16. And let's talk about this story. I think it sort of ushers us into the next story I would like to take. U.S. aid donated drugs found in Lagos Abia Market, NAFDAC. Now, Fuad Mojisola has been doing a lot in trying to sanitize the system. Fake drugs, trucks and trucks, loads. I believe 1 trillion naira is now the rough estimate of the drugs that have been accosted by NAFDAC in collaboration with our security operatives. The amount of drugs in that truck is worth at least 1 trillion naira. So far, so good. But the thing is, controlled drugs were found in spare parts, where spare parts are sold in the market, especially the one in Anambra. The spare parts aspect of that market, there were drugs in the warehouse there. Why are they there? They are controlled drugs, antiretrovirals, drugs that are supposed to be kept at a certain temperature, right? And even drugs that were donated by US aid. Fuad, remember there's still a lot of controversy surrounding that. For example, coronavirus, most of the vaccines we got was via donations. And so you'll be wondering, why are these vaccines not available? It turns out that some individuals will circumvent it, take some, keep them, and then start selling medication that was given to us for free. And Mojisola Adeyeye right now is even claiming that she has been receiving death threats, people threatening to kill her because she's trying to put some sort of stumbling block in their business operation. This illegal business operation that leads to the loss of lives in large numbers. Fuad.
Well, it's just unfortunate that we are just who we are as a people. You know, it's not just drugs. If you remember that during coronavirus, most of the donations that came from USAID in terms of food and what have you,
we saw it
were also covered by our politicians.
Allegedly.
You remember now.
Allegedly.
So it's not just the drugs.
Allegedly.
Don't you remember that people were
it's an inside joke. It's an inside joke.
All these allegedly things that people are saying now.
It's an inside joke. Allegedly.
The mother has seen the son now. The son is looking. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
but on a serious note, really. On a serious note. You know, it's just in our nature, really. And that's why when you go to government hospitals, public hospitals, there are some drugs that they're actually supposed to give to people. They are never available. You understand? Because in most of the public hospitals, most of these drugs from USAID and what have you, they are supposed to be given to people free. Malaria drugs, you know, there are some vaccines that are supposed to get free, so many things. But look at what we've discovered now. The NAFDAC DG in our operation discovered that most of these things are now kept in warehouses, in shops. They moved out of the hands of people who are supposed to give it to people free, and people are now selling it. Would you not blame Donald Trump? On saying, we know they do again. Even if you do his own excuses, I think it's ridiculous. But the reality is that we have not even done well with most of these donations. So when people say, USAID was being used to fund Boko Haram, no. You would not expect the US to give money directly to Boko Haram. But the people they give the things to, the monies to use it to better the lives of their own people, find a way of putting the monies in the wrong places. You understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate. I was listening to the NAFDAC DG also yesterday on TV, and you could see her lamentations. You could see that she's extremely frustrated. And now she's actually recommending death sentence, life imprisonment for people who make fake drugs.
Yeah.
Like she was saying yesterday on TV, see, that look, she looks at children that take drugs that are fake. These children cannot complain. The drugs can even damage them, damage their organs and kill them. That's so it's not until when you put a gun into somebody's head. Anybody that is bold enough to produce fake drugs should be killed. In their court, and I support it 100% safe.
Right. In a related story, the FCPC is also investigating the rising cost of medication in the country, that people turn towards patronizing roadside drug sellers because they cannot afford it at the pharmacies.
So the FCPC does not know why drugs are expensive. Medications are expensive. So they don't know the inflationary trend. The government policy last year, when they have said that, look, they are going to give some form of import waiver for pharmaceuticals. Did the government implement it? Sage. So the FCCPC just woke up from their slumber to begin to investigate that drugs are now very expensive. So they don't know why. They don't know that import duty has gone up. They don't know that the cost of production has gone up. Inflation has gone up. They don't know. They just want to say. You know, that was the same thing they did when they were threatening people of price gouging. They've left that now. Remember, when they were threatening people, that people were just doing price gouging. They were just ripping people off. Things are too expensive. They've left that when people told them that, look, can you tell the government to stop starting businesses to make things cheaper for the people? So, again, all the motion with that movement strategy has started. They want to investigate why drugs are expensive. So, they don't know.
We have to go, unfortunately. We're out of time. Thank you so very much for your analysis. There's still many more stories, but it's Open Mic Thursday, so that gives us an opportunity to really expand the conversation. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. We'll be back after this commercial break. It's the Morning Express. I'm Sage Babalola. It's Mainland 98.3 FM. Don't go anywhere.